Get started. I feel like all dressed up today. Hi, you guys. How are ya? Happy Thursday. It feels like it's been a long week, at least for me. Maybe that's why I got like the extra red lip going on today. Just, let's keep it fresh. If you guys are just joining, I know, so we've been doing these lives every single day this week. So we're live right now on Facebook. Hey, Facebook. We're live right now on the webinar. I'm just making sure you guys can all see and hear. So if you're here on the webinar on Facebook or my Instagram peeps, just give me a little wave, give me some hearts, say hello, tell me where you're like listening in from. It's honestly so weird to do these like when it's just me by myself. So I just like to pretend you guys are all here. I like seeing your names. I like seeing where you're coming from. It makes it so much more fun, really, for everybody. So welcome, happy Thursday. If you guys are just like joining in this conversation or you have no idea why did this notification just pop up? So remember, we're doing fun little lives, little hangouts every day, mini hangouts, about 10 or 15 minutes, just to kind of like drop in and give you some extra stuff to think about this week, especially with our topic of just creating and designing a healthy lifestyle that lasts. And I say that on purpose, and I've been saying that every day, of like truly designing, crafting, and creating, because I think there's so much that goes on that we just like don't necessarily know that we have control over, or that we don't know, like we kind of just fall into habits or we go into autopilot mode. Thanks for saying hi, you guys. I love this. This is so fun. We got Santa Barbara, LA, San Francisco, Austin, Dallas, New Zealand again. I love this. This is so great. Okay. This honestly makes it so much more fun. Hi, Amanda. Hi, Casey. Hi, Lauren. Hi, Carly. This is so great. Okay. So this is our topic, right? The 5 ways. We're going live every single day this week to talk about one of the 5 ways of actually starting to create and design a healthy lifestyle that lasts. So meaning, I think, yes, it's easy to get healthy, but the thing that is probably the piece that nobody ever talks about is like how to stay there, and how to stay there in a way that's joyful and like that brings you a lot of life, like a lot of joy in your life around celebrating great things, being a human, right? Nobody's perfect, but starting to talk a little bit more about the specifics of what it actually means when you're not being so extreme of like totally healthy and totally perfect, and then totally off the bandwagon and not doing anything because you don't care or because you're sick of like focusing on it for so long and so hard. So I'm talking about like this gray space in between all of that, the gray space in between the black and white, because I think that's where it's so much easier to thrive, and that's such a better place to live for the long term because it's so much more doable in the long term. You're not trying to force yourself to do anything. You don't have these like intense rules that you're needing to stick by. So that's really what it's all about. So if you guys are just joining, like this is day number 4. So we're going to get into step number 4 really quickly. But just to recap, the steps that we've gone through so far this week are sort of mirroring a lot of the stuff that we start to talk about that's just sort of like the surface level stuff that we talk about in the group program, the Simply Real Life program. So because it closes next week on Tuesday, and because the early bird little special bonuses deal closes on Saturday, I just wanted to like take some time to like help walk you through some of these things that are, even if you don't decide to do the program or it's not the right fit, it's totally fine. I still want you to start thinking about some of these things and hopefully putting them into action, right, in your real daily life. Even if it's just one tiny thing that's said that makes you think twice or makes you take a second look at some of the things you're doing, just again, out of habit and on autopilot. Because for most of us, that's really how we run most of our lives. And in some ways, like that can be a great thing. And then in some ways that can be not such a great thing and sort of help, it keeps us stuck in doing things we don't really want to keep doing, but we don't know like how to actually change those brain habits and those patterns. And that's really what it's about. I think that all we get taught about is like the physical side of things. We get taught about food and workouts, and that's it. But for it to actually last and be something that is more long-term, we have to talk about like the mental side of things, the emotional side, our stress level, our mindset, like all of that is so connected to actually what we do with food, even though I know that seems like kind of a little weird, but it's so true. There's no way that we can like disconnect those things. And that's why diets don't work, is because they just address the physical. They're just talking about the food and workouts. But behind all of that, like we are like such complex creatures, right? We have like these amazing like brains, but we also have these huge hearts and so many emotions and so many things that we deal with. Like life is crazy, right? It takes a lot of resilience and a lot of um, like steady even when life is not. And so that is like my whole goal and intention about trying to talk more about this. Like program or not, this is such an important thing, I think, to start connecting some of the pieces, because there's some of the pieces that if you're ignoring like not only what you're eating, but it's the why you're eating it, right? Of like, it's not just about healthy food, because you could eat an entire bag of like root veggie chips, right? And gone in like 5 seconds before you even knew what was happening. Or you start with one glass of wine, and then before you know it, it's been a really long, stressful day. And then by the end, you're like 2 glasses deep, or maybe 3 glasses deep, or like maybe sometimes you finish the bottle. Like you're sitting and trying to relax. Like if that has ever happened. So it's not just about the food, the food itself, right? Like root veggie chips or like a glass of wine is not bad, right? They're technically like real foods and can be healthy foods, but it's how we use them, because of our thoughts, because of our emotions, because of everything else that's happening in our day. We always try to keep it separate, like, oh, my food's just not at all related to, the hard conversation I had earlier, or an email that came in that sort of triggered me in some way. But the hard thing is that we never learn how to actually deal with that other side of things as it pertains to food. So for most of us, when we get any type of like emotion, so this is going into step 4. Sorry, I'm a little all over the board. Do we recap? I can't even remember. That tells you how long of a week it's been. The recap of the steps is first transitioning to real food, right? So that all of the systems in your body can start to stabilize. Your blood sugar, your hormones, your hunger, your cravings, everything starts to stabilize once you transition to real food. Step 2 was redefining what it actually means to feel good. Most of us actually don't know how bad we feel because of the stuff that has sort of snuck into our daily lives, even in healthy food, right? That it can kind of like take a toll and starts adding up. So number 2 is like redefining when you are eating really well and you're giving your body like half of a chance. How do you feel? How are you sleeping? How's your energy? How's your mood? Like, how are you treating other people? How kind do you feel like you're being? How patient are you, right? With your kids or with people that are around you, with your coworkers. All of that starts to shift within like a week or so of switching over to real food. So those 2 pieces are highly and heavily connected. And the third piece, and what we talked about yesterday, was just getting out of autopilot. So taking the things that you do, just like you just do it because you do it. You buy the same things at the grocery store. You eat the same exact breakfast every single day. You make your coffee the exact same way. Like things that we do that we don't even really think about, like having this, like having an effect on what we're doing. But there's so many things that we just do mindlessly, right? Like grabbing food off of your kid's plate, or that we like have 3 cups of coffee and we're not even really thinking about it or in tune with whether we need it, or we're drinking that because we maybe didn't sleep so great the night before. And then it starts to become this continuous cycle that then we don't know how to really get out of it. We don't really know how we started it. And it's a little bit like disconnected, right, from how we actually feel, and so disconnected from taking an actual look at like every day when you get out of bed, taking a quick little survey, like how am I doing today? Like what do I need a little bit more of? What do I need a little bit less of? That's the direction of where I want you guys to start thinking about, because truly it can change every day. Every day we get different thoughts, different emotions. We deal with different kinds of stressors in our life. And so getting to a place where you feel really solid and grounded with your mental and emotional part of your life, because it's so then connected back to what you do with your food. So for so many of us, and I am like prime example, this used to happen to me I mean, all the time, is that I would be healthy or think that I was being healthy again with like the root veggie chips and or like having wine instead of like having a beer or thinking that like I'm like okay I'm gonna like make healthy cookies, right? I'm gonna like make these healthy cookies, but then I would like eat half of the tray. So it's like the behavior behind what we do with food that matters just as much as the food being healthy. Does that make sense? Okay, please let me know. Does that make sense? Is that something that you guys have ever experienced, or something it's like you could buy all the groceries at Trader Joe's and Whole Foods, but you still end up doing some weird things that then you're like, wait, why did I why do that? I'm not, wait, what? I didn't mean, can I have willpower? Do I have no self-control? Like, so I'm telling you now, it's usually not about willpower or self-control in any way. It's usually that there's so much going on below the surface that we're never taught how to actually tap into, of like how to actually feel your true feelings, how to actually see when you're getting triggered by exactly what things, and then how to move through those things instead of just stuffing it down, ignoring it, and then trying to distract ourselves or solve ourselves or soothe ourselves with food. Yeah? Anyone? Am I the only one that does this or has ever done this in my life? Okay, we got some thumbs up. Yes. Okay. So yeah, just two, right? Aaron's like, just two people. Yeah. So this is the piece I think that is just so disconnected, and something that I just want you to start thinking about this piece. Like the next time you feel like you're in a moment like that, where you're like, have the ice cream, it's healthy vegan ice cream, but you still eat half the pint because it's been a long day or it's been a really stressful week, or because you just want to not pay attention to like being totally perfectly healthy all the time. Like there's such a difference between having those things that you love and enjoy, because I think there's so much of that. There's so much room for that when you're taking out so much of the clutter. And that's actually what we're going to talk about tomorrow, is like this joy piece with it. But there's such a difference between having those chips or the cocktail or the ice cream or the cookies or like, the really good like cheese that you love. There's such a difference in doing that in a way that is mentally like you are like fully present and aware, and like you're actively choosing and enjoying those things and being fully in the moment, versus it being something that's like a distraction, or you're trying to stuff something else down, or you're not even sure like why you're stressed out or what happened. Like that can happen so often in life. So yes. Okay. We're getting a little bit more. Yes, you can relate. Yes. It's like, oh, it's not just me. Yeah, it is such a thing. And I think that, we just, first of all, we never get taught about food. That was something we talked about on Monday. Like we never get taught just about an unbiased way to think about food, that it is always something that's like, we're only taught through diets or marketing, right? So there's that piece. But even once we kind of, I'm guessing most of you are like, you kind of are healthy, right? Or you're trying to be healthy. It's not like it's not like it's a shock to be like, yeah, vegetables are good for you, right? You should be eating some of that. Like you guys kind of know what's going on. It's just sometimes a matter of like, but what else? What else is behind that? We never get taught how to connect all of the pieces, the physical, the mental, the emotional, and then it becomes actually more of even like a spiritual thing. That might be getting too woo-woo and too deep for you guys, but they truly are all connected. And until we can learn a way to actually dive into some of those things and look at them and examine them and truly like play with them, right? And like having this, like not taking it so seriously and getting so down on yourself and beating yourself up and having so much guilt and the shame and the everything when you're not being perfectly perfect with your food. It's not about that. Right? It's learning just how to like move through those things so it's not as much of a bigger deal, and they're not things that like continue to keep you stuck, because we're all gonna like, life is always going to be throwing stuff at us. And I think until we can actually figure out some of the deeper levels of like how to deal with that better, you start to see how that trickles up, like with your food, and how the food stuff, when that gets super solid and easy and simple, when you're just thinking about real food, how that then trickles down and makes this other piece so much easier and so much more clear and so much more like easy to actually do in real life and put it into action. Yeah, totally. Oh yeah, Sia saying I eat my feelings. Like, LOL. I mean, it's something like, yeah, like we like all sort of joke about it. Like, I'm sad or went through a breakup, so I ate the pint of ice cream. That's like a known thing, but nobody ever talks about like how to do it differently, to not be like sabotaging yourself and to not be using food for every other reason besides being hungry. That's what this is really about, because once you can figure that out, it just cracks you open to so much more joy, and there's so much more enjoyment of food when you're not worried that that dynamic is going to start to kick in and happen all over again. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. So I just want to keep this short. Again, we're like at our little 15-minute mark, but like I did yesterday, I want to open it up and see if you guys have any questions. Like, about this, like, so these are the general topics, right? And these are the types of things that we really dive into in the Simply Real Life program. So that's my group program that's open. It's the 6-week program. It's only open for one time a year that I run it live. And this is like kind of where we get into these things that are actually more practical and the specifics of giving you the tools and the tricks and like what exactly to do when you find yourself in that moment, or when you find yourself in a moment that just happened. You're like, I totally wasn't hungry. I didn't need like 3 glasses of wine, or I didn't need, like to eat dessert after dinner every single night. It's just a pattern. Why am I doing that? That's like that's like what I teach and talk about. It's my most favorite thing in the world. So if you guys have any questions about today, or any of the things really that we've talked about in any of these little mini workshops, I'm more than happy to answer them. Or if you have questions about anything else, you might as well. We're all here, right? So let me know. So if you guys are just joining in now, hopefully the recording will work, and I will be posting this on the blog later and pinning it to my Instagram story as well for the next 24 hours. So if you guys are just joining the party, hopefully those will be available in a little bit. But anybody have any questions, thoughts, comments, even like yeah, that happens to me. That's okay. It's really normal. I'm just trying to tell you it's normal. But it doesn't have to be the way that you always continue to live your life. And I think it's something that when you do figure out, it's something you just have to figure out once in your life. And literally, no way to get back into that, like feeling so out of tune once you do know how to get there, if that makes any sense. All right. Okay, everyone's so quiet today. Whatever. I get it. It's Thursday, it's all good. So if you guys are curious about the program, you can go check it out. It's at simplyreallifeprogram.com. Super easy to remember. It's also posted on the blog at simplyrealhealth.com/blog. And that's where all the rest of these little mini workshop recordings are, in case you've missed any of the other days. Okay. I love you guys. So if you don't have any questions, last call, last warning. Okay, but be sure to go check it out. Be sure to go catch up. And tomorrow I'm going to be going live with step number 5. That looks like 10, but step number 5 in this process of designing a healthy lifestyle that actually lasts, because it is so much different than just getting to healthy as a destination, but the process of keeping it going through all the ups and downs of life. That's really, I think, what matters most, and what is considered probably the healthiest way to be. Okay. All right. I love you guys so much. Have a great rest of your Thursday, and head on over to the blog if you want to catch up, or leave me a message or a comment. You can send me a DM, or send an email to hello@simplyrealhealth.com, and I will talk to you guys soon.